all been asking our Prime Minister to address the nation on the state of crime. We are at 66 murders for the year, on track to surpass last year's record. And last night, the Prime Minister finally addressed the nation, mainly talking about crime, but finally addressed the nation in a pre-recorded 12-minute speech to the nation. Why the Prime Minister would choose a medium of pre-recording the speech, I am not sure. But a pre-recorded speech lacks authenticity, in my mind, lacks authenticity. It lacks the connection to the people. It says it's very scripted. We don't know if he has given something to read. We have no idea. But a pre-recording for something as serious as addressing the state of crime, to me, in my mind, and based on the commentary I've seen online, is not the way. So we got a speech again, this is my assessment and everybody's free to do their own assessment, but we got a speech which in my mind felt like something they gave the Prime Minister to read. It lacked authenticity, it was very different. It contradicted things he had said before, things he has allowed in his government. To me, it's not in sync with his words and his actions don't match up. And that's what I think about it. And immediately after his speech, we heard, I'm going to get it for you. Immediately after his speech, as if in response to his speech, sadly, we all got the video of gunshots going off in Viewfort. And it sounded like automatic rifle fire. Listen to this. Folks, that was a few minutes after the Prime Minister's speech on crime. So clearly his message is not getting across. It's not being received. And I have my thoughts about why that is happening. And I'm going to actually play for you his speech and go through point by point and stop along the way to really dissect what he's saying. So this is the Prime Minister.
Citizens of SaintLucia, our country is at a critical juncture in its development. Despite the
Please let me know in the chat if you're hearing, because I got a WhatsApp message saying they're not hearing. Can everybody hear what I'm saying in the chat? Please let me know. Please comment in the chat.
complicated global challenges that confront us, including climate change, inflation, supply chain issues, and the Ukraine.
Okay, this is very hard to hear. Okay, yeah, it's very hard to hear on my iPad. I'm gonna play it off my phone. Just 1 second.
May God guide our eyes. Citizens of SaintLucia, our country country is at a critical juncture in its development. Despite the complicated global challenges that confront us, including climate change, inflation, supply chain issues, and the Ukraine-Russia war, we have registered many successes during our short time as a government. These successes are...
Now, I want you to listen carefully to the empty words of Philip Pierre's statement, especially his first few words. Listen very carefully to the emptiness of what he's saying.
He's at a critical juncture in his development. Despite the complicated global challenges that confront us, including climate change, inflation, supply chain issues, and the Ukraine-Russia war, we have registered many successes during our short time as a government. These successes are a result of prudent financial management, policy.
They have registered many successes as a government, and he has not named what those successes are. I have been asking, I've been trying to find out what are the successes of the government. They boasted about they've paid CXC maths and English for some Form 5 students. Yeah, and I give them that. But the government has been in power for a year and a half, and I don't know what successes they're counting or they're touting. I don't see the successes. I don't hear about it. I don't see it. I see a lot of taking credit for the work of the former administration and taking credit for Alan Chasney's work, but I do not see the successes. So if somebody knows what those successes are, please put them in the chat, because I've been desperately trying to find out what the successes are he's talking about.
Registered many successes during our short time as a government. These successes are a result of prudent financial management.
Which financial management?
Put you, the people first, the confidence of the private sector, and the cooperation of civil society groups and trade unions. Your resilience allowed us to cushion the COVID-19 onslaught on families, businesses, and our way of life. It is because of the successes.
Y'all, I'm going to go back. So we need to hear that carefully. We need to hear what he's saying carefully. And if you know what he's saying, what the successes he's talking about, please put the comments in the chat.
As a result of prudent financial management, policies that put you...
Like what? Like what? Listen to the empty words. Policies, prudent policy, and prudent financial management. Like what? Policies that put the people first. Like what? A lot of empty rhetoric that means nothing at all, that do not translate into any tangible achievements. Just empty words. And that's all this government, in my mind, is. A lot of empty words, a lot of fluff and bluff, which is Philip's favorite words. But he's so guilty of that. Fluff and bluff, empty words that have no meaning.
Confidence of the private sector and
the confidence of the private sector.
Prudent financial management, policies that put you, the people first, the confidence of the private sector, and the cooperation of civil society groups and...
Confidence of the private sector. Like what? How is confidence of the private sector? How? What has the private sector done to exhibit confidence? Has there been new business expansion by the private sector? Have there been new investments by the private sector? Because that is how you see confidence from the business sector. When the business sector is confident in your management and the economy, they invest, they expand their business, they expand production, they build new plants, they build new wings on their hotel. That is how the business sector shows confidence. I don't know of any private businesses in St. Lucia that have expanded. I don't know. And I follow what has happened in St. Lucia very closely, probably more closely than a lot of people who live at home. So please tell me if there's something that you see in the private sector that I've missed, any business expansion, because I don't see the confidence in the business sector at home. I really don't.
Unions. Your resilience registered many successes during our short time as a government. These successes are a result of prudent financial management, policies that put you, the people first.
Empty words.
The confidence of the private sector and the cooperation of civil society groups and trade unions.
The cooperation of civil society groups and trade unions. Philippe, you mean like the ones you've infiltrated, the Labour Party has infiltrated? Which is why I keep asking, where are the civil society groups? Where are the trade unions? Have you all lost your voices? The cooperation of these groups. The country is bleeding. The country is the lowest it has ever been. Crime is sky high. Misery is sky high. This government seems clueless and inept. There's no plan, there's no vision. And civil society is silent. Those who are making all the noise when the economy and the country is being managed through a pandemic, they were making the most noise, doing everything to manipulate what is going on, to undermine what the last prime minister was doing. And now they're quiet. And Philippe admits it, the cooperation, as he calls it, of civil society and the trade unions. You mean the infiltration of those groups by putting your people and making... Guys, every time I come on live, I tell you this is how the Labour Party operates. Labour Party plays the long game. They put their people in these organizations, the trade unions, civil society organizations, the National Trust, all of these organizations, the Bar Association, the NYC, this one, that one. So when they need them, when they're in power, they cooperate. They are silent. They take moo pills. And when they're in opposition, they frustrate the work of the United Workers' Party, as we saw in the last 5 years. So now Philippe admits he has the cooperation of civil society groups and the trade unions. That's not cooperation. Your people are in there to advance your agenda. So they are quiet. They are saying nothing while the country bleeds. And that's why I'm going to point it out. I want everybody's eyes to open. Too many people allow those civil society groups and trade unions to fool them in the last 5 years, making endless noise for no reason at all. And now we have huge issues that these organizations are remaining quiet on.
Your resilience allowed us to cushion the COVID-19 onslaught on families, businesses, and our way of life.
Your resilience allowed us to cushion. What did he say?
The cooperation of civil society groups and trade unions. Your resilience allowed us to cushion the COVID-19 onslaught on families, businesses.
Your resilience allowed us to cushion the COVID-19 realities on families, businesses. Philippe, the country was managed. The country was managed during the worst of times, during a pandemic. That is why you are reaping the rewards of proper management of a country and an economy during the worst of times. Give credit where credit is due. The country was managed by proper leadership. The country was managed.
And our way of life. It is because of that resilience, that survival nature, which captures our spirit as SaintLucians. A business survey conducted by the Chamber of Commerce has registered improved.
Listen to Bluff, y'all. Listen to this. Listen to Bluff. Listen to Bluff.
That survival nature, which captures our spirit as SaintLucians. A business survey conducted by the Chamber of Commerce has registered improved business performances.
A survey captured by the Chamber of Commerce has registered improved business performances. Half truth. But what he will not tell you is that this business survey compares 2022 over 2020. Well, of course you're going to see improved confidence by the business community, Philippe. We have come out of COVID, or coming out. The world has moved on. Tell us what year the comparison is made to. If you tell me, if you compare 2022 as opposed to 2019, like everybody's doing, they're comparing this year. Yes, we have run our surveys too, comparing 2022. But you don't compare it, your base year is not 2020, it's 2019, pre-COVID, Philippe. So you're using the results of a survey by the Chamber of Commerce. I mean nothing. I'm not even sure what the Chamber of Commerce in St. Lucia would compare 2022 to 2020. Of course, we are in a recovery period. Of course, you're gonna see that. Of course, that the economy the economy has opened. Of course, you're gonna see more business activity. Of course, you're gonna see more tourists. Of course, you're gonna see more everything. 2020, the economy was shut down. The country was shut down. So you are patting yourself on the back and taking your collar for a survey that really means nothing.
That survival nature which captures our spirit as St. Lucians. A business survey conducted by the Chamber of Commerce has registered improved business performance.
Over what year?
The NIC has reported, for the first time in its history, a record number of contributors to the fund.
The NIC, for the first time, has recorded a record number of contributors to the fund. Well, of course, Pierre. Wasn't Alan Chasney encouraging non-contributors during COVID to enroll into the NIC? Remember all what happened when income support had to be paid and NIC was only willing to pay income support to their contributors? And Alan Chasney kept saying the message, that is why even if you're self-employed, you need to contribute to the NIC. That is why you see this uptick in contributors to the NIC. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you or your government. That started during COVID when the message was sent loud and clear that if you don't contribute to NIC when you need the funds, whether it's for illness, well, NIC is not really configured to be an employment agency, but that was the message that Alan Chasney kept repeating. So now you see an uptick. It has nothing to do with you. But this government continues taking credit for all the work of the Alan Chasney government. So the successes he called so far, a survey by the Chamber of Commerce that really means nothing. The work of Alan Chasney and increasing in contributors from the NIC has nothing to do with him. Nothing. But he's taking credit for it.
Investor confidence is back, as evidenced by the number of investment projects which will take off next year.
Investor confidence is back by the number of projects that will take off next year. Folks, when I see the investments, I will believe them. When I see the investments, I will believe them. Signing contracts, investors signing contracts don't mean anything to me. As St. Lucians, we know, we have been told, we have heard, we've seen sword turning, we've seen contracts signed for hotels, we've seen all that over and over and over and over and over again, and nothing gets happened. You know how many times I see contracts signed for beaches properties or for other SaintLucia properties? You know how many times and nothing yet? Nothing past the 3 properties that SaintLucia has? You know how many times I see sign-ins and government taking credit and patting themselves on the back for investments that have never happened? When they happen, you'll get credit, Pierre. Don't tell me you sign a document so investor confidence is back. That's not how investor confidence is done. That's not how investor confidence is measured. Or that's not how you get credit for investor confidence. Please.
We are recording some of the best tourism figures, and we continue to be recognized.
We are recording some of the best tourism figures. Did you all hear him? We are let me play that for you all again.
Investor confidence is back, as evidenced by the number of investment projects which will take off next year. We are recording some of the best tourism figures, and we continue to be recognized globally for our unique product offerings.
We are recording some of the best tourism numbers. Y'all, I have to go back to the archives. I have to go back to the archives. Let me find Pierre's own words for y'all. I need to go back to the archives. Let's go back to the archives, y'all. Let's go back to the archives. Let's go back to the archives. Let me find Pierre in his own words for y'all.
Continuing as usual, as if nothing happened. The government is continuing as usual, as if nothing happened. The government of SaintLucia is the only government I believe that tourism will get back to how it was pre-COVID. I think it's the only government in the world that believes that. There is no other government.
SaintLucia is, and that's during the reign of the last government. That was when he was in opposition. St. Lucia is the only government in the world that believes that tourism will go back to the way it was after COVID. Listen to him carefully, eh? But today, he wants to take credit for the work of Alan Chastanet. When Alan Chastanet kept our country open and kept our economy going and asked St. Lucians to coexist with COVID, to balance lives and livelihoods. And his party in opposition fought against that and argued. And this man was a minister of tourism, eh? This man is a minister of tourism. St. Lucia is the only country in the world who believes that tourism will go back. But Philippe Pierre, if you understand the business of tourism, you know tourism will always rebound. Tourism always rebound after global shocks. After 9/11, you're supposed to have known that it goes back. Tourism goes back. People have an innate need to travel. No, but I see you in the comments. When you and I used to do the morning show, Keeping It Real, that's a message we were sending loud and clear before the election. And Philippe Pierre had St. Lucians confused, hating tourism, demonizing tourism, bashing tourism. Admittedly that he did not understand how the importance of tourism to our economy. Our biggest industry, he didn't understand it. When Alan Chastanet was saying, keep the economy open, it will give us an advantage when we come out of COVID. We have to keep the lights on and keep our country open. We have too many people employed in tourism to shut down the country. Yeah? These guys rallied against tourism. But even during COVID, we saw the numbers, we saw the people coming in. We saw people coming in. And this Philippe Pierre in opposition was saying, we are the only country in the world who believe tourism will go back to the way it was. But it has already come back, thanks to the work of Alan Chastanet, Philippe Pierre. But I want you to listen to what you're saying today, bragging that we've seen record tourism numbers. As if you have anything to do with that. As if you have anything to do with that. And contrast that with your words when you're in opposition in 2020.
The government's continuing as usual, as if nothing happened. St. Lucia, the government of St. Lucia is the only government that believes that tourism will get back to how it was pre-COVID. I think it's the only government in the world that believes that. There's no other government, I think, who believes that except the government of St. Lucia. So what do? We continue with business as usual. We continue to build an airport based on the fact that our airport would get its income from arrivals. Are you serious?
Yes, he was serious.
Do you believe that we're going to get a level of arrivals that we had when we did the sensitivity analysis for the building of that airport? Are you really serious?
You hear him? You hear him? The man has no confidence in St. Lucia. Philippe Pierre has no confidence in St. Lucia. He has no confidence in St. Lucians. That's why he's busy selling all our assets that we have run, that we have managed for decades. We have managed our assets for decades. But he has no confidence in us. Our black prime minister, as he loves to call himself, not me calling that, he had called himself that. Our black prime minister has no confidence in St. Lucians to run our assets. He has no confidence in our tourism industry. But today, he will boast about our tourism products. It has nothing to do with you, Philippe Pierre. It has nothing to do with you. It's not your work. You were the one undermining it 2 years ago. Now today, you boasting about the success of it because of the work of Alan Chastanet.
Can we really sit down and say to ourselves that with the best will in the world, we are going to get the same level of arrivals in the country when we projected to borrow money from the airport?
But today, 2 years later, he's boasting that we have record arrivals. 2 years later, we have not fully emerged from COVID. COVID is still there. But he's boasting today that we have record arrivals. And nothing to do with you, Philippe Pierre. Nothing to do with you.
Tourism, when we were dealing with the financial crisis. Fastest recovering industry every single time.
Absolutely. That's a man who understands tourism.
Tourism's gotten to the point where it's a lifestyle.
Yes, it is.
It's not a luxury good anymore.
Absolutely.
All these people who are locked up in their homes for COVID
Absolutely.
Just can't wait to get out.
Yep.
Is it mathematically possible that there can be a global contraction in tourism, but that we can grow?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You see vision?
A strong
You see vision?
Works against us.
You see vision?
Because Americans now can go more affordable.
Do you see a man who understands our main industry? Do you understand vision?
It's more expensive. So what have you been seeing in the last couple of weeks? The dollar's been sliding. Pound is back up to $1.30. We know that the pound can get past 150. That's a huge benefit to us, not only from a tourism, but also from real estate perspective. Canadians, and then even for Americans, as the dollar gets weaker, it gets more expensive for them to go to other countries. And now because we're pegged to them, we become more affordable. Is that a phenomenon we believe that's going to continue? I think so.
Absolutely.
With US elections coming in, the uncertainty with what's happening in the oil market, and all the other levels of uncertainties, and given the amount of debt that we are seeing that the U.S. is accumulating, and the gridlock on a political basis, all those things, I think, for the most part, I could never predict 100%, but I think that the U.S. dollar, it looks like it's going to continue to decline, and other currencies are going to strengthen, and certainly the U.S. still has not come out of COVID, whereas some of these other countries now are starting to recover a bit better. So I believe that tourism can do well. We just have to be very smart, like we've been in the past, as to what our strategy is going to be in terms of that.
Absolutely. 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 Now you see that contrast with a prime minister who does not understand or believe in our ability as St. Lucia and as St. Lucians. He has no confidence in us. And you see the contrast with a prime minister who sees the vision and the potential, who understands how everything fits in to geoeconomics, fits into our tourism industry and everything else. The value of the dollar, oil prices, American elections, all of those things, inflation. He saw how all of this fits in. But you have a man like Philippe Pierre who lacks vision. No, but seriously, y'all, Philippe Pierre has no confidence in us. So we're not inspired. How you do inspire a nation when you have no confidence in your people? When you believe that you have to sell our core assets to foreign companies for them to run on our behalf. They see the ability to make money in it based on the revenue flows that Alan Chasney set up through the passenger head tax for our airport, through our cruise passenger head tax for our cruise ports. They see it as strongly economically viable. That's why they're making those investments. But our own black prime minister, and again, another one calling that's what he calls himself, does not believe in us as St. Lucians. We have 2 Nobel laureates, two, the highest per capita in the world. We have some of the best brains at home and abroad. Some of the most talented St. Lucians at home and abroad. And you do not believe in the power of your people? You do not believe in the power of your people to take our assets and do fabulously with it? Why do you have to sell our assets to foreign companies? Do these foreign companies have any intellectual capacity or any intellectual capital that we St. Lucians do not have, Philippe Pierre? They can take it. They can take our core assets, our seaports, our cruise ports, our airports, the gateways, the entry points to our country, and make it economically viable. And we, St. Lucians, can't. And we have some of the most talented people at home and abroad that are contributing fantastically to other countries, foreign companies. And you're selling our assets because you have no confidence in us? Back to Philippe Pierre.
For our unique product offerings. However, for the first time in its history, a record number of contributors to the fund. Investor confidence is back, as evidenced by the number of investment projects which will take off next year. We are recording some of the best tourism figures, and we continue to be recognized globally for our unique product offerings. However, we risk losing all these gains by the persistently high incidence of homicides which we have been recording, especially over the last 6 years.
Listen to how he plays politics with crime. Listen to how he plays politics. Listen to his last words.
For our unique product offerings. However, we risk losing all these gains by the persistently high incidence of homicides which we have been recording, especially over the last 6 years. We have been...
Folks, is it only over the last 6 years we've been recording extremely high level of homicides? But he has to push this on Alan Chasney too. He has to put Alan Chasney in his bouillon. So he cannot say we're experiencing a high volume of murders. He has to find a way of bringing Alan Chasney into the mess that is what it is now in the country. And I'm not blaming Pierre for crime. I'm not. This has been going on for a while, but it's not just 6 years. It has been going on for a while. You all forget Kenny Anthony begging the criminals to give us a break, surrendering to criminals, surrendering the country to criminals, telling us that he has no answers. He's given up. He's surrendered to the criminals and put St. Lucia at the mercy of criminals, asking them to give us a chance for Christmas. Have we forgotten? Have we forgotten? Have we forgotten? So the crime did not start in the last 6 years. The murder did not start in the last 6 years. It did not even start under Kenny Anthony, if we are to be honest. We saw a peak during the Stephenson King administration prior to 2011, in that 2011 year. Hence ORC, Operation Restore Confidence. It didn't just start under Alan Chasney. I'm not blaming Pierre for the crime in the country. I'm not. The crime is not a short-term situation. It has been developing for decades. But again, look at where the crime is. Look at the pockets of where the crime is. Look at the constituencies where the crime is. Where the crime and the murders are confined. Not confined because they were all over, but where you see the pockets of crime. Look at those constituencies. Look at who has held those constituencies for 25 and 26 years. And they're going to do masses for each other. To say, oh, we've won six times. Let me pat myself on the back. But look at the difference. Look at the poverty in these constituencies. That is what has caused crime. Look at the lack of development. Look at the lack of anything. These people committing the crimes now, these 24-year-olds, they were born under the Labour Party. They were born under the Labour Party. They saw nothing in their constituencies to give them a sense of hope. No sporting, no economic activity, no industry for their parents to have a job. You had mothers having to leave their children and go up to cash trees to work. A sense of hopelessness. Look at the constituencies that have the pockets of crime. Who are they? Who are the district reps? 6-term Labour Party politicians that have done nothing for the people, but they keep getting re-elected.
I've been nurturing an environment over the years of tolerance for corruption where crime thrives. Our crime situation is not a sudden phenomenon.
It's not.
We did not just get there.
That's true. That's true.
Successive governments have grappled with this
Absolutely, that's true.
It has hurt us.
Absolutely.
It has caused pain to families.
Absolutely.
It threatens the fabric of our society. But crime has continued to plague us for too long. We must fight back and take our communities. We must...
Okay, so a little bit of tough talk. A little bit of tough talk. Let's see. Obviously, that he didn't write that speech because he's not even convinced of what he's saying. We must fight back. We must take our communities. Not even convinced. If you want to inspire and show that you're a leader and you have this under your control, there is a language, there's a conviction, there's a body language, there's a tone, there's everything. If you want to send that message to criminals, you send that message loud and clear. You're not even convinced of what he said because he did not write that speech. That's why 2 minutes after he gave a speech, there was a gunshot like AK-47s going off in Beaufort. Like you'd swear we're in Iraq or a war-torn country. In our little St. Lucia. Minutes after he spoke. As if they were responding to Pierre and you imagine you talking, man. Because he does not inspire any sense of leadership. That he has us under control. Even his attempt at firm talking does not come across as that.
Fight the scourge of crime individually and collectively as a country. To achieve this, we need you, the citizens, to promote a criminality of all forms.
Now, Philippe, you see how he goes to you first. So now he put us in charge of crime. Oh, wait. Philippe is boss. Philippe takes no responsibility for anything in the country. Anything. He always puts the onus on the citizens. So it's as if he elects us. We didn't elect him. He elects us. Time again, Philippe does not take any leadership. He first puts the responsibility on the citizens. Now, what he's saying is not wrong. It is a collective responsibility for crime. That's why I've always said government after government, I'm not politicizing crime, because it's a collective responsibility. The churches, the schools, the family, civic society, the community, all have their role to play in ensuring that children are brought up, are nurtured in ways that they're productive, law-abiding citizens. So he's not wrong. But the first thing Philippe does for everything, just watch it. Just watch him. Every single challenge he's had in the country, responding to the inflation, everything. It's as if he doesn't have a clue. He doesn't have the solutions, and he pushes it back on the people. And he tells them, stop panicking for crime. He tells them, basically, wepu call. That's what he does. Listen to him very carefully. Somebody says that speech was delivered by Kenny D. Anthony in 97. Verify. I'm trying to get so hence he cannot be convinced. Okay, yes, absolutely. That exact speech was delivered by Kenny Anthony. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this.
And this week, and other was.
So listen to Rick Wayne on Timothy Polio's show today.
Have now been concluded, and this week an order was placed for 24 new motorcycles.
So Rick Wayne was reading a speech made by Kenny Anthony, and I believe that was, I'm not sure what year, but he was reading a speech made by Kenny Anthony. So listen to that, eh?
Have now been concluded, and this week an order was placed for 24 new motorcycles. These motorcycles, blah blah blah. Thirdly, in 2 weeks' time, approximately 50 new police recruits will formally become constables. These much-needed officers will enable the commission to relieve more senior, experienced, highly trained.
So in other words, Dr. Kenny Anthony said then what Philip J. Pierre is saying right now.
Bullseye, Jim. Bullseye. What a smart guy. Exactly the
So Philip Pierre come and read the same speech Kenny Anthony gave.
Useless we will do. Because even if the we will do, it has nothing to do with 4 people shot dead in 3 days and not even a comment.
So Philippe Pierre came and read, regurgitated, plagiarized the exact speech Kenny Anthony gave in his term. And like we say, a lot of useless we will do. We will do. Instead of coming to tell us it has been done. The exact speech by Kenny Anthony years ago, he has come and give. He's come back and give. Yes, Jana, that is plagiarism. It's regurgitation. That's why he does not feel it. That's why he does not come across as authentic or as genuine or as meaning the words he says. Because it is not his words. Somebody say Peter Alexander wrote it.
Towards criminality of all forms, crime, individually and collectively as a country. To achieve this, we need you, the citizens, to promote a zero tolerance towards criminality of all forms.
That's true. That's true.
Small infractions of the law, not speaking the truth, threats.
Now, y'all, listen to this very carefully. Eh? We have 66 murders for the year. 66. And December ain't start yet. 66. Last year was 70. And December ain't start yet, eh? So we very much on trend. Sadly, very sadly, to break last year's record. Very sadly. This is very sad for the country because it could be any one of our loved ones. This is very sad for the country. But instead of coming and speak about the 66 murders that we've had, listen very closely to what he first identifies as the cause of the problem. Listen, when you see those politicians talking, put on your thinking caps, okay? And listen very closely to the words they're saying. Listen to the first thing he comes and identifies as the source or the cause of the criminality we are seeing today. Listen carefully.
This, we need you, the citizens, to promote a zero tolerance towards criminality of all forms. Small infractions of the law, not speaking the truth.
Not speaking the truth.
Threats. Malicious gossip.
Envy.
Peddling lies and hatred
on the internet.
Domestic violence.
And child abuse.
May appear small in
comparison to homicides.
But we know how seemingly small issues snowball into larger societal problems.
Now, here wrong, we know how seemingly small issues snowball into bigger societal problems. So while I find it very strange that the Prime Minister would start off as the causes of where the crime is, the murder rate is today, look at the issues he's identified. Now, Pierre, let me ask you some questions. I agree with what you're saying, you're not wrong. I just find it very strange, your priority, your sequencing of what you mentioned first. But let me play some things for you, Pierre. Because you see, as a Prime Minister, when you send those messages, your words and your actions have to be consistent. You cannot tolerate the same things you condemn. You cannot tolerate the same things you condemn. It's you like a parent who scolds a child for stealing and you stealing. It does not work that way. You have to set the tone. You, Pierre, as Prime Minister, you or any Prime Minister have to set the tone for what is tolerated in the country. Where Singapore is in terms of its level of crime, which is extremely low, is because they have set the tone. They have said no tolerance to criminality, period. And it starts by making examples out of the people around you, your cabinet. When you send a message that you have no tolerance for criminality, that you have no tolerance for the very things you condemn in this, people will fall in line because you have said the message. Words without action is nothing. I'm going to play the videos for y'all. I will start with Miguel Fevri. That's where I will start. Let me play Pierre again for you all. Let me play Pierre. I want you all to listen to what he says.
Not speaking the truth, threats, malicious gossip, envy, peddling lies and...
Listen, I want you to listen to this carefully. I can't believe my ears. I can't believe Pierre is saying this. Because his camp is replete with examples of this. His camp has the most examples of this. And if you want to send a message, you start in your camp. You take out the mote in your eye, Pierre, before you go and take out the mote in anybody else's eye. You clean your house first.
Has continued to plague us for too long. We must fight back and take our communities. We must fight the scourge of crime individually and collectively as a country. To achieve this, we need you, the citizens, to promote a zero tolerance towards criminality of all forms. Small infractions of the law, not speaking the truth.
Not speaking the truth. I'll get to Miguel. Not speaking the truth. Let me find the example of not speaking the truth for you. Let me get the example of not speaking the truth for y'all.
To say that you promised every SaintLucia $1,500, that's being said all over the place.
I never know where it came from. I don't know where it came from. I mean, this is, nobody can be a tip and say, nobody can be a tip and say, what we said, everybody who gets less than $4,000 a month will pay no tax. No one. And I challenge anybody to go anywhere to say where Philip G. Pierre ever said go. Challenge it. People just say that.
Flashback.
We would increase the income support to the unemployed people in the country, so $500 would not be enough. A Labour Party would ensure that these people would get at least $1,500 for their response to COVID. We would triple it, my brothers and sisters. We would triple it. We would.
End of flashback.
So Philip Pierre talking about lies. But Philip Pierre, they still have people who are waiting for your $1,500. Philip Pierre, your hands are not clean. You cannot talk about lies when you're guilty of it. There are people who vote, there are thousands of people who voted for you because they're waiting for their $1,500 you promised them. And after the fact, the man said he never say that. The man challenged people to find a tape. Anybody who could find a tape of him saying he promised $1,500. And when they find a tape, the man said he didn't say he will. He said he would. You see how dishonest? You see how dishonest they are? And the man come and give a speech talking about lies? Philip Pierre, the people are waiting for that $1,500. You promised them. They voted for you expecting to get $1,500. Give the people their $1,500. Philip Pierre, for your full 5 years of your thing, we are going to be asking you to pay the people their $1,500. So I don't know where you're going to get it from, but pay the people their $1,500. You're talking about lies? Start there. Start there.
Of the law. To achieve this, we need you, the citizens, to promote a zero tolerance towards criminality of all forms. Small infractions of the law, not speaking the truth, threats, malicious.
Threats. Okay. You want threats? I'll give you threats.
Boy, do not let
your public relations officer.
Do not let nobody fucking catch you tomorrow. Because you see use money and fuck you working out every fucking body in your mother cunt. And it's me you feel you want to work out. Don't let me catch you tomorrow. If you want to be alive after tomorrow, Friday, November 26th, you better find my fucking money for me, eh? Just find it. And don't feel like it's no idle threat.
Philip Pierre, you want to talk about threats? You cannot tell a nation about issuing threats and you have Miguel Favre as the face of your Ministry of Infrastructure. You cannot. The two do not go together. They do not go together. They do not go together. And not only you have Miguel Favre as the face of the Ministry of Communications issuing threats to kill somebody, he's also nasty and vile on social media. Nasty and vile. This was his post this week. This was his post this week on social media. In response to, let me get it. Alan Chasney called a journalist to challenge them and ask them to be more objective in their reporting. Miguel took offense to that. Look at what he wrote. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the light. Okay, I'll read for you. You probably won't be able to see it. Miguel Favre, this weekend on social media, and I'm quoting him. Thing is, Chasney, and Chasney is a leader of the opposition, eh? Miguel is a public servant paid for by the taxpayers of St. Lucia, and this is what he posts on social media. The thing is, Chasney would never call me and tell me that shit, because I sure as hell would remind him of what hole he came out of. That's Miguel Favre, the face of government, the face of the Ministry of Infrastructure. And Philip Pierre come and did that speech last night. Deal with your own house first. Clean your house. Set the example. The example starts from you. The tone starts from you, Philip Pierre. You cannot have these people in your inner circle as the face of government, and then you come and tell SaintLucia about issuing threats. You cannot. The two do not go together.
Of the law. To achieve this, we need you, the citizens, to promote a zero tolerance towards criminality of all forms. Small infractions of the law, not speaking the truth, threats, malicious gossip, envy, peddling lies and hatred on the internet and airways, domestic violence. To achieve this, we need you, the citizens, to promote a zero tolerance towards criminality of all forms. Small infractions of the law, not speaking the truth, threats, malicious gossip, envy, peddling lies and hatred on the internet and airways, domestic violence, and child abuse.
Philippe, you don't listen to Richard Frederick on his show on a Thursday. You don't listen to Richard Frederick on his show on a Thursday. The man is a government minister and he continues his vile behavior of insulting, attacking, bullying, maligning citizens on his show on a Thursday in the most demeaning, derogatory way. Do you not listen to him? Do you not hear his statements he made toward the guy, I forgot his name, on Cool Vibes Radio, on Ras Iper, of me, of Marvin, and many other people? Anybody who dares criticize Richard on anything, I don't know what he thinks. He's a government minister. He expects not to be criticized. His response is never to address the issue. He goes on to his show on a Thursday and demeans people in the worst way. So how could you come on and talk about the crime, and that's the cause of crime, when it is in your cabinet, Philippe Pierre? It is in your house. It is in your house. Just the other day you went on to Super, you told people to go and fight. You tell people to get in UWP's faces and tell them you lose, you lose. You encourage people to go and protect the victory, whatever that means, whatever it means to them, go and do it. Encouraging people to go and fight. Encouraging acrimony and conflict in the society. Encouraging combative behavior in the society. Your words and your actions do not match up. You cannot be doing one thing and preaching another today because crime high. You set the tone, you set the example, and you have to be consistent in your actions and your words. They have to match up and match up all the time. That's how respect is earned.
But that kind of reticence on the part of Labour Party supporters. Fight back! Fight fire with fire! You see me right now? I'm taking them on head on now.
You forget the man who said you're going to take bazookas at people? He's in your midst. He's the Speaker of the House. Philippe Pierre, your words and your actions have to match up. Let me find that unedited video for you of Claudia Sky. I don't want the one that's the music. I want you to hear his words unedited in the rawest of forms. Let me find that video. Let me get this video.
Reticence on the part of Labour Party supporters. Fight back! Fight fire with fire! You see me right now? I'm taking them on head on now.
That's right. I want the original video. Okay, here it is.
But that kind of reticence on the part of Labour Party supporters. Fight back! Fight fire with fire. You see me right now? I'm taking them on head on now. No more Mr. Nice Guy. You want to interfere with me? And I keep telling you, I don't care. When I'm fighting, if my opponent is a dwarf or a giant, I'm fighting with all the ammunition at my disposal. All. I ain't saying, well, because it's a dwarf, let me use a catapult. And because it's a giant, they're going to use a bazooka. Dwarf to giant getting bazooka. Because you do not deal with you know that baygon spraying, you spraying baygon to knock out mosquitoes?
Yes, that's how you kill mosquitoes.
Get rid of them completely.
Yeah, you use basically for mosquitoes.
Irritants.
So how you see that inflammatory language? You see that inflammatory language? These guys, the leaders, their public faces are using. And when you have an inflamed, an overheated, a very irate, a very angry society, you wonder why. It comes from the top, Pierre. It comes from the top. You should have fired Claudius a long time ago. You should have fired Miguel a long time ago. You yourself should never be using that language. Richard Frederick should never be in your cabinet. His behavior has been clear over the years. He should never be in your cabinet. And you wonder why the criminality is where it is today. You think you're ever going to get it under control? You could buy all the vehicles you buy. You can build all the halls of justice. You can repair all the police stations you want. You will not get it under control until the tone is set from the top. It has to come from the top. If the parents in a home are cursing and carrying on and fighting and cussing and stealing and breaking things, the children they're raising will follow any other example but that? Your words and your actions have to match, Pierre. Leadership is taking the hard things. Let me tell you, fire a couple of those ministers who behave bad and you will see how the rest of society will straighten up. Because once you do that, it says the tone that you will not tolerate it among your inner circle, you will not tolerate it in the police, you will not tolerate it in the society, that you're taking a hard stance against indiscipline and criminality in the society. That's what you need to do. That is what you need to do. You cannot talk hard. Well, you're not even talking hard because your heart is not even in the hard talk. But you're not fooling anybody. It's very obvious. You don't even mean the words you're saying. But you cannot even pretend to talk hard when your actions do not match up to your words. You have all these people around you who have displayed threatening, inflammatory behavior and words and actions. You have criminals in your cabinets. So you cannot tell the rest of society anything.
And areas, domestic violence and child abuse may appear small in comparison to homicides, but we know how seemingly small issues snowball into larger societal
Yes, they do.
problems.
They absolutely do.
The underlying causes of crime make it a complex issue that cannot be left to the police alone and the government to solve.
That's true.
The fundamental question is, what type of citizen do we wish to create in SaintLucia and the world? Until we know the answer to this question, can we effectively overcome the crime challenges that beset us? An answer to this question is that we need to create an emphatic citizen who respects the rule of law.
We need to create an emphatic citizen. We need to create an emphatic citizen. What does he mean by we need to create an emphatic citizen? When I heard him say, I checked the dictionary because that's not the meaning of the word emphatic that I know. I checked the dictionary high and low. I'm still trying to figure out what does he mean by that. If somebody understands what he means by that, please put it in the chat. No, but I know you're very good at the English language. If you understand what he means by that, please put it in the chat. I checked the dictionary back and front, upside down, sideways, backwards, and I don't know what he means by we need to create an emphatic citizen. What is an emphatic citizen? Please, somebody help me understand.
Can we effectively overcome the crime challenges that beset us? An answer to this question is that we need to create an emphatic citizen who respects the rule of law and value and respect human life and human rights.
Does he mean empathetic citizen? What does he mean, y'all? Did he use the wrong word? Does he mean empathetic? I don't know what he's trying to say there.
Forming this type of citizen requires input from all sectors of society: the family, the schools, our churches, other civil society groups, businesses, and the government. It has been said before that crime is every citizen's
business. Yes, it is.
And we must all play our part in stemming its place.
Absolutely.
Our neighborhood watch groups
Yes.
must be reactivated.
Yes.
Along with organized sports clubs.
Absolutely.
And wholesale community activities.
Yep.
In short, we must return to being our neighbor's keeper.
True.
The government continues within its limited resources to assist the police.
Let me go back to Philippe Pierre.
And
Let me go back to this.
an answer to this question is that we need to create an emphatic citizen who respects the rule of law and value and respect human life and human rights. Forming this type of citizen requires input from all sectors of society: the family, the schools, our churches, other civil society groups, businesses, and the government. It has been said before that crime is every citizen's business, and we must all play our part in stemming its increase. Our neighborhood watch groups.
But Philippe Pierre, you see, Philippe Pierre, that's why you cannot be taken seriously. Unless you deal with the criminality within your own cabinet, Philippe Pierre, nobody's going to take you seriously. You have set the tone for what your tolerance level is. You have set the tone for what you will accept as a prime minister of the country. You have set the tone for the rest of the nation who are watching you, whether you realize it or not. You cannot say one thing and do another and think that people will listen to your words and not your actions. When you have people in your cabinet, who have shown you their repeated corruption. They have shown you. You have somebody in your cabinet who sold our diplomacy to a Saudi billionaire, who opened an account with that billionaire in the name of the SaintLucia High Commission to the UK, unknown, in breach of our finance laws. Yo, those of us who live in big countries, that could never happen and you'd get away with it. Never. 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 In breach of our finance laws, outside of the purview of the Auditor General, opened a joint account in the name of the SaintLucia High Commission, jointly held with said Saudi billionaire, that the Auditor General of SaintLucia knows nothing about. There are 2 signatories on the account. Outside the scrutiny of our audit process. You have this person sitting in cabinet. You have this person who has shown you that they will corrupt all of our institutions to evade a few thousands of pounds in taxes. They corrupted the UK High Commission office. They corrupted and compromised the staff in that office. They corrupted and compromised the customs department. They corrupted the Ministry of Transportation when the vehicle had to be registered. They corrupted our judicial process. And you enabled them to do it by going to the courthouse with said person to see that justice was served. Your presence there. You move people out of one position and bring in your person who will do your bidding. You have shown that you are willing to compromise and corrupt our processes and our institutions and our organizations to allow your people to get away with criminality. So your speech means nothing. You can't say one thing and do another and think that people are going to listen to you. It doesn't work that way. Do you think your inner circle is exempt from the laws of the country? That they can do whatever the heck they want, but the rest of the citizens have to abide by the rules to reduce crime? It starts from the top. You have a minister of government before he was elected. Broke the law, disrupted a church service. To go after his political opponents for money, because that's what he said in the church. It was about a vehicle, money, something about disrupting a church service, and that's against the law. And you know what you all did? You know what you did, Philippe Pierre? When you were the political leader, well, you still are. for the Labour Party in opposition. By the next morning, all of y'all had an orchestrated campaign to make the perpetrator of the crime the victim. All of y'all had a black and white photo. A black and white photo on your Facebook page, quoting scripture, quoting the Bible. And you're made the victim of what? Of the attack in the church. You're made the victim of the attack in the church, the villain. You'll turn it around. And today we want to talk about crime. People are watching you, Pierre. People are watching you. People don't take you seriously. People do not take you seriously. You all have endorsed criminality, whether you realize it or not. All that is a tacit endorsement of criminality. That's why people don't take you seriously. When you were in opposition and the last government was asking St. Lucians to abide by the rules and regulations of COVID to manage COVID, you all created chaos in the society. You all put out a public, official statement saying people are frustrated to justify people throwing stones at police when the police came to shut down a bar which is open outside of curfew. You did that. You did that, Pierre. You're willing to burn down a whole house just to be Lord over its ashes. That chaos you all created when you were in opposition, today you all have to deal with it. That's the seeds you sowed when you're in opposition. You sent a message, whether you realize it or not, you sent a message to the criminals that you are weak on crime. That you will, and there's a tacit endorsement for it. You will justify it. The first thing you all did when you all came into office was to expunge the records for all people who had COVID, breaches or whatever. All of them. All of them. Yes, no, but they gave the church invader, the church mashupper, Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs, a slap in the face of St. Lucians. The person who disrupted the church service there, as if to tell St. Lucians, to hell with y'all. They gave him Minister of Ecclesiastical Affairs. Slap in the face of law-abiding, decent St. Lucians. But your messages when you're in opposition have set the tone for what you are today. If you were consistent in your stance against crime, and you were consistent in your words, actions, what you tolerate around you, the message would be heard loud and clear for the society. People would know, I have a prime minister who don't play. I have a government that don't play. They don't play by that. They don't tolerate crime. The police force would have fallen in line because they would have understood. But you'll have played politics with crime so much. You'll have played politics with crime. Encouraging delinquency. This trying to destabilize the citizens when you're in opposition. So now you're paying for you're reaping what you all have sown. You're reaping what you all have sown. And you continue to turn a blind eye and protect your people, allowing the criminality to continue. You have a Richard Frederick in your cabinet who still cannot get a US visa. Who still cannot get a US visa. And you all know why. Because you all were the ones who told us why the US would revoke a visa. Especially of a diplomatic visa. You all told us. So you know why, Pierre. You have access to the information now. You have applied for a diplomatic passport for him since he has gotten into power. It has been rejected. I don't know why you all keep doing that, embarrassing St. Lucia. I don't know why you all keep doing that. The US has made it loud, has spoken very loudly and clearly that they will not give him a visa. They have said they revoked his personal visa, his diplomatic visa. When his daughter wrote, they were very clear with her that he will never get a visa again. You have went and applied for a Songhot visa for him, a 3-day Songhot persona non grata visa for him to go to the UN. To do what? Just embarrassing St. Lucia? Just embarrassing St. Lucia and irritating the US government. You don't know the US government don't take kindly to that? That you all know that his visa has been revoked. You apply for a visa for him to go to the UN? A somewhat visa? Come on, man. And a request for an in-transit visa to Ecuador was denied? He had to go to Ecuador. A request for an in-transit visa was denied. The US said, I don't even want you sitting at my airport. I don't even want you sitting at my airport. I don't know how many, in what other language the US have to tell you all, stop applying for visas for him. They do not want him in the country. I don't know why y'all keep doing an embarrassing SaintLucia. A little somewhat visa you get, a little persona non grata visa. And you all have these people in your cabinet? You have these people in your cabinet. You have another minister who was a principal in a project that is under the thing of the UK government for UK pensioners funds that has been accused of the fraud in this whole UK pension thing for the Freedom Day project, sitting in your cabinet. You have 4 people with highly questionable, if not blatantly criminal, backgrounds and actions. And you want to come and talk about criminality now? Set the tone, Philippe, in your cabinet. Get your house in order. Why do you have these people in your cabinet? Why? And you want to come and tell us about criminality? It starts there. It starts with you. It starts with you, Philippe. Get your house in order. You think anybody going to take you seriously?
Our Devono Watch groups must be reactivated, along with organized sports clubs and wholesale community activities. In short, we must return to being our neighbor's keeper. The government continues within its limited resources to assist the police to fulfill its mandate of ensuring law and order. Yes, the police must play their part in upholding and enforcing the rule of law. They must be examples of good governance in the conduct of their duties. They must be obedient to their oath and have a zero tolerance for corruption among them.
Absolutely. It starts with your cabinet.
Over the last 16 months, the government has signed contracts for the construction of the National Divisional Headquarters to replace the Grocery Police Station. Signed a contract for extended SaintLucia Police Force.
And he goes in to explain all what the government, all the things they have signed and all the plans they have. Plans. They will do. Like Rick said, they will do. My point is, it starts with you. It starts with you. The tone you set, Philippe, for the crime is a tone the country is going to have. So you could come and list up all the things you signed, all of the bikes you bought. Well, not bikes, the vehicles you bought. The governments buy vehicles, replace vehicles for police every single year. They recruit for police every single year. There are police stations that are repaired. None of that moves the needle on crime. None. It may give the police a few more tools or a little bit more comfort to do what they have to do, but it does not move the needle on crime. It does not. Passing legislation when the criminals do not care about the legislation because in their mind you're not going to be caught does not move the needle. What moves the needle is setting the tone. You cannot brag about things and then the main thing, the biggest issue is the number of illegal guns that these criminals have. The access to illegal guns, the number of illegal guns that are on the street. Everybody, all these bad boys have a gun in their hand. All these bad boys have guns in their hand. And you all got rid of the canine unit, the sniffer dogs, the dogs that detected those guns. You all got rid of them. How could you all be serious about crime? At this point, we need to bring the RSS in. You all brought the RSS in for Carnival. For Ernest Hiller's Carnival. That's Ernest Hiller's Carnival. He and his friends are not benefited from Carnival. Nobody has benefited. The Malawi you all claim to be putting for did not benefit. So you all brought the RSS in for Ernest Hiller's Carnival. We need the RSS back because the police cannot do this. We see the crime we have now? We will need outside help. We need outside help. Get the RSS back into the country. Have a strong presence on the streets. Strong presence on the streets. Set up camp in those crime hotspots. Set up camp. Tell me about you repair the police station here, you buy vehicles there, recruit. That's things that are done every year. That does not mean anything. Get serious about crime. Get serious about crime. Set the tone from the top. Give the police the tools they need. We need outside help. Storm the streets. Send a strong signal to SaintLucia that you have a zero tolerance for crime. Start from you and your cabinet. That's my position on what I saw about that speech. I was uninspired. I was unmoved from the commentary I've seen today. I don't think anybody took the Prime Minister seriously. As if he doesn't even mean what he says. He didn't write that speech. He did not feel the speech. There was no passion about the speech. There was no convincing solution that you're serious about it. Even the actions of the people firing the AK-47s and before showed you that what you said is meaningless to them. You think the criminals care about the speech you give? You think they care about the legislation? You think they care about if you increase the terms for jail sentences? In their minds, you're not going to go to jail anyway. And the reality is that's what we're seeing. A lot of those murders are unsolved. It's like people are getting killed in SaintLucia. There's no penalty for it. You kill somebody in broad daylight and nothing. Go on with your life. The person, family, bury the person. 2, 3, 5 years later, there's no arrest. There's nobody prosecuted. So the criminals have taken over. The criminals have taken over the country. And as a result, what you see is that people are staying home. The Christmas season where people would normally be out and about, people are staying home because people are fearful for their lives, and rightfully so. So in addition to things being hard, the country is going to suffer even more. Because the people who are able to, who have the money to spend, they're staying home, they're not out there spending it. When you tell me these criminals are targeting small businesses and are holding up in armed robberies, hairdressers, seamstresses, small businesses, that's what they're targeting. That's what they're targeting because they're going after the money of those small businesses. So it's not like these things are confined to drug or gang violence. Anybody could get hurt in these armed robberies. Somebody who just go to a little corner shop at their home, or go and do their hair for Christmas, or who go and do their nails, or go and pick up a dress at a hairdresser. That's who they target at a seamstress. That's who they targeting. So people are staying home. They're not out there spending money, which is going to hurt the economy even further. And speaking about economy, let me just shift the topic for a second. Let me tell you, there's a recession coming next year. There is a recession coming. The North American countries are already beginning to go into the recession. The governments here are putting us, it's a deliberate thing, they're putting us in a recession to cool inflation. Because of all we keep blaming the war in Russia for inflation, and that's part of the issue. The other part of the issue is the printing of money that went on during COVID to respond to COVID. So Canada was printing money, the US was printing money. So you have an increased money supply, you have more money chasing fewer goods. That is why you've seen prices go up. You have inflation. So they are deliberately putting the economies into recession to cool the inflation. It's a managed recession. Cool it for maybe 3 quarters or a year, and then take it out of recession, sorry. So they're using specific tactics like increasing the interest rates. So when it becomes more expensive to borrow, people are going to spend less. People are going to pull back. People are going to pull back on the discretionary spending. And that's already what's happening. I see it in Canada. Yes, people still have money. Unemployment is very low in Canada. Very, very low. So people still have money. People have not lost jobs. But there's decreased spending. People are spending less on money on eating out. People are spending less money on shopping and so on. People are going to spend less money on travel too. And that's going to hurt our tourism industry. We need to brace for it. It's not going to be a very long recession. It's probably going to be about a year. But it's going to hit developing countries like SaintLucia very, very hard because there are no safety nets. There are no safety nets. There are no social support systems for it to respond to it. And I don't get a sense that this government understands what is coming. I don't get a sense they understand what's coming or that they can handle it. or that they're preparing solutions for it. Here in Canada, they're talking to us about it. They're telling us what's happening, and they're telling us it's going to be short-term pain, that they have to take those actions to cool the economy. But we have to brace for it. That it's going to be painful, but it's going to be short-term. They're talking to us about what's happening, what they're doing, and explaining their reason for doing things. So we know what's coming, and as a result, people have started pulling back and they're spending. But in St. Lucia, they're not speaking to people about what is coming. When North America sneezes, the Caribbean and St. Lucia, which are so open and dependent on the US, especially for tourism, catches a cold. And what the government needs to be telling St. Lucians is watch their spending right now. Watch their spending. But instead, they have all kinds of nonsense to encourage people to drink rum, cab away, crawl, all kind of stuff. Very short-term things, just to get people to spend money. Because cab away crawl is not for tourists. Cab away crawl is encouraging St. Lucians to go out and drink. Yeah, and in good times you could do that. In good times, I had no problem with that. You go out and have a good time, spend money in the economy. But you also need to be telling people what is coming down the line. There is a recession coming next year. And the people who are dependent on the barrels from the people overseas, if these countries are in a recession, as they have already started to see the contraction in spending, the ability to send barrels home or to send remittances home are reduced. The number of visitors coming from these countries, because when there is a recession, the first thing you stop is your discretionary spending. Like I said, you're eating out, you're traveling, you'll make sure your mortgage paid, you'll make sure your rent paid, you'll make sure your core bills are paid, but you will cut back on discretionary spending, and sadly it's going to affect tourism dependent countries like St. Lucia. But the government needs to prepare people for that. The government needs to tell people what is happening and how to prepare, and to cut back on the useless spending, to start making sure there's money put aside. But I don't think this government gets a lot. It's like they don't understand geoeconomics and how everything fits together and how the pieces affect St. Lucia. They don't get it. It's a very knee-jerk, very reactive kind of, there's no vision, there's no planning, there's no thought process. There's not a sense of leadership. There's not a sense of somebody in control, somebody at a ship with a captain. It's like a rudderless ship on the ocean, just drifting. That's how St. Lucia feels right now to me. But St. Lucians, I'm speaking to you all. There's a recession coming next year. So this Christmas, be very frugal if you're spending. Be very, very frugal. Put money aside if you can. Because next year is going to be tough. Anyway, folks, I just want to say, a lot of what Philippe said was true. That we have to take a collective response to crime. We have to. The government has their part to play in setting the tone. The police have their part to play. But St. Lucians as a society, we have a part to play in ensuring that our communities are safe, ensuring that the children in our communities that we nurture, how we socialize children, the church, our schools, our civic institutions, all of those things have a part to play in the societies. We cannot keep hiding the criminal elements in our society, in our homes. We have to have a zero tolerance for crime, period. That is the only way we'll take back our country from the criminals. When people are afraid to go out, it means that we have surrendered to the criminals. Because we are in fear of them. And that is where St. Lucia is now. I've spoken to people in the diaspora who are not going home this Christmas because they are concerned for their safety. When St. Lucians are making decisions not to go home for Christmas because they are in fear, when people are making decisions to go home straight after work and to stay indoors until they have to go to work the next day, people are in fear. The criminals have won. And that's not a place. That's not a good place for our society. It's not a good place for our loved ones at home. It's not a good place for you who live at home. It's not a good place. We have to take our country back. And I encourage Pierre, I urge him to do the right thing in setting the tone from himself, by his words and his actions and the people around him. The leaders he have around him, the faces of government, get rid of those criminal elements, because once you have those guys in your cabinet or the faces of ministries, nothing you say will be believed. You could preach Paul, it's not going to be received. Get rid of those criminal elements around you. Start setting a strong signal and a strong tone that you believe in your core, you believe in your heart of hearts. That there's no place for that in St. Lucia. And that message will filter down throughout the society. And people will get on board. People are looking at you right now. And the message you're sending is not a good one. Folks, it's an hour and a half. I'm going to get out now. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Stay safe. Love you all. Bye-bye.